Hey folks, this is Rob with Trace City Woodworks, and today we're going to make a woodworking mallet. It's a rather nice piece of figured walnut and a white oak handle. Give you guys a little sneak peek. I don't know how to speak today apparently. So stick around and see how we do it. Here's the materials we'll be using in today's build. One's a piece of white oak from a pallet, and the other piece is a figured piece of black walnut. That's actually a gunstock plank. Here we're just running our materials through the thickness planer. We're not really worried at this point about the actual size of the material. We're just running it through here just to get it nice and flat. This stuff has been stored for many years and has a bit of warp to it. And so we're just making our life easier by starting off with some nice flat stock. The next couple video clips is just doing the rough dimensioning of the materials. I chose the walnut just because it's so beautiful, and it's one of the thicker pieces I have because I wanted to make a really substantial hammerhead with a good amount of weight and strength. And then I chose the white oak for the handle because the handle is really the weak point in this whole thing. And white oak has long been known for its strength and resiliency, and as just kind of a off fact there, one of the earliest well-known American warships, the USS Constitution, was built using white oak for the hull. And in the Battle of 1812, when the sailors saw the cannonballs from the enemy ships bouncing off the hull, they nicknamed that ship Old Ironsides. Here we're just drilling out the hammerhead for the mortise. There's going to be a tenon that I'll form on the handle, and that's how the two pieces will attach. And you'll see that halfway through I flip the hammerhead over, so we're drilling halfway from each side, meeting up in the middle, and then we'll continue on to chiseling after this. Now we're beginning the process of chiseling out the rest of the waste for the hammerhead, as well as getting the corners square. And in case it's not really obvious here, we're going for what's called a wedged tenon. So the hole that I'm making is actually wider at the top and narrower at the bottom, and then we'll expand the tenon on the handle with a couple of black walnut wedges, which you'll see later on. Now we're just at the bandsaw cutting out the handle for the mallet, and the way that it's formed is, the main part of the handle is down low for some nice powerful strikes, but it's also shaped so it's comfortable when you choke way up and get your fist right under the head of the mallet for shorter, more controlled hits when you're trying to do more precision work. Oh, the good old oscillating belt sander. Here we're just cleaning up all the cuts that we made on the bandsaw, getting rid of the saw marks, and as well as getting right up to the lines for the pattern that I drew on there. And that's really all this is serving to do right now, is just get it cleaned up into final shape. I mentioned earlier about the wedge tenon, and these next two clips will be dealing with making it so that we can wedge that tenon. So the first thing we're doing here at the drill press is we're drilling a couple of stop holes. So this wedge tenon, it has to be split so the wedges can go down into the split, spreading that tenon out to fit into the tapered hole in the mallet head. So if we don't put a hole at the bottom of it, the cuts that we make can continue to split out as we wedge this, which obviously we don't want to happen. So the first step is to go ahead and drill that stop hole. Then we move over to the bandsaw and make the cuts that the wedges will actually go down into. Here we are with our brand new router table, and we just have a round over bit in the router table, and we're just knocking all the sharp corners off the handle just to make it a little bit more comfortable to hold. When we first started this, we just cut the rough hammerhead to square because it was easier for the drilling and chiseling purposes. At the face of a chiseling mallet, you actually want to have a little bit of a diagonal face on it. It just makes for a more comfortable angle when you're working up close with the chisel. So that's all we're doing here, is we're just putting a little bit of an angle on the face of the mallet. Back at the router table, obviously we're just going over and rounding over all the corners just like we did with the handle. Here we're going through assembling the mallet. I thought I had the camera position correctly for the whole thing, but as it turns out I didn't. You can see me putting the head onto the handle. Unfortunately, you don't really see me drive the wedge in, but I think you've seen enough to kind of get the gist of what we're doing here. These next couple of clips are just going through and sanding and putting the finish on the mallet. I didn't show a whole lot of the sanding. I figure most of you kind of understand how sanding works, and the whole point is just get the whole thing all smooth. And then you see me applying some boiled linseed oil to the whole thing to finish it. Unfortunately, I had planned to use my branding iron on this and show that process and have a nice piece with my brand on it. Unfortunately, I was halfway through applying the highly flammable oil finish to it before I remembered the brand. So that was kind of a missed opportunity on this project. But we'll get it in on one of these projects in the close future. That wraps up the mallet build. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's, I just can't get over how nice a piece of walnut this is. As you can see in the video with my nice wooden handled chisels, I've been just banging away on them with just a carpenter's hammer, and that's really not good. I've needed this for a while just for the sake and the longevity of my chisels. Plus it looks cool. So now we just got to make a holder, throw it on the tool wall. That'll probably be in tool wall video part, what are we up to, 4 now? Along with a lot of other stuff I need to get hung up there. So stay tuned, we got some cool projects coming your way later this week. Not a tool wall, but probably our most technical build yet. Might take a couple of days of work, so we'll just see how it turns out. It's going to be really, really involved, but it's going to make life much, much easier, and I think it's going to be really neat. So stay tuned and you'll see more. Thanks, guys.